Here we go.
How are you able to do this? What kind of education do you have to be considered, what, a captain, an engineer, or, huh?
Well, as long as we look good in uniform, that's usually enough. Now, we all come from different backgrounds. We have 3 different departments on board. We have deck, hotel, and engine. So hotel director is in charge of the hotel, obviously. Chief engineer for the engines, and then we have actually staff captain who's in charge of the deck department, and then I'm in charge of all of them. But also I come up through the deck department. So me, I actually started on the bottom because I was a storeroom utility. That's as far down you can get. It's like down on deck 2. And that was 30 years ago. So then after a few weeks there, they didn't want me. They put me on deck. And since then I've been there. I done, first you do a few years of school to become an officer. Hey, what's wrong with the microphone? And then you go up to work as an officer, and then you come back and do a few more years to be a captain, and then you sail again to get more practice. And now I've been with this company since 2000.
And I finished the university, Bucuk, Engineering Maritime University in Croatia, before the war in my country. That was 23 years ago. And then I started sailing on the cargo ships for 14 years. Then I joined the Renaissance company. And after the bankruptcy, I moved to NCL. And here I am.
Do you have any background, Mirsad?
I start for hotel department is a little bit different, you know. As you just heard, they have to finish university to work, to maneuver the ship. But in hotel side, I finished a catering school and I did additional summer training in Miami. But everything comes to working so many years, you know, different department, you know, different positions. I started as a waiter 35 years ago. I'm not looking like, right? Yeah. But at sea, 20 years working at sea. So I started as a waiter, and then I moved to the restaurant maitre d' restaurant manager, F&B director, and composition hotel director.
He was actually more around the school. I remember this guy in Dubrovnik. He was a bartender in different bars and nightclubs. I remember him very well.
I like your uniform, you know. Anyway, my question is it very difficult to manage all the big ship around this Mediterranean Sea, because there are so many countries, every have a conflict with each other. So how do you manage to avoid all this, I don't know what is it, dangerous or what, you know. For example, you have to go to the Syria, near Syria, and then they have a war around there. So how do you manage that?
Yeah, sometimes. Hey, Tech, can you fix the microphone a little bit? Can you do something? There's too much sound coming from there. Well, first of all, this is, well, at least that's what some of the guests tell us. It's maybe not the best part of the world to be in right now, but so far we're doing pretty good. We have people in all the different countries monitoring the situation all the time. We don't call Syria, but we go to Israel, and the plan is to go there all winter. We were there last week, and we will go there next week as well. This is our second call to Egypt, and after this we only have one more. Then we will go to Istanbul for the winter. And also in Egypt, we have people there who on a daily basis send us information, both to us as well as to shore side, what's going on. Is there any reason why we wouldn't go there? And if there is any kind of safety reason, then we will definitely cancel the call.
couple of questions. One about the bottom on the ship. How often do you haul this ship and paint it, or do you have it cleaned? How many gallons of paint does it take? It takes 5 gallons to paint my boat, so I'm just kind of curious. And maneuvering, how tight can you maneuver this ship?
Regarding the paint, it's much more than other people. We are doing that during the dry dock, of course, when the ship is going, when she's going to the dry dock. And regarding the maneuvering, this ship is very easy for maneuvering, thanks to this to the pods, which are turning 360 degrees around, and thanks to the bow thrusters. We have 3 bow thrusters forward, and it's very easy for maneuvering the captain.
This is interesting because during my years at sea I never seen an engineer up on the bridge looking how we maneuver. So I don't know how he can sit here and say it's very easy, but well, as long as he keeps them all running, that helps a lot, that's for sure. And with the system we have here, considering the size of the ship, yes, he's very good to maneuver. Not easy, good.
We are giving all kind of support to them.
For engineering, above the sink, there's a thing that says razors only, electrical outlet. So I plug my water pick in there, ignoring the sign, and it says, instead of, you know, at home it's like, and there it's like, is it? So I don't understand electricity anyway, but why doesn't it operate, you know, like it does in the States? It's 110, maybe it's amperage or whatever. What's the?
I think it is. And you are violating this notice. That is the main reason. Don't do that again.
I told Jolene I want to ask this question. I said they'll probably arrest me.
No way.
How often do you stock your fresh produce, like the fruits, vegetables, the meats, and how much quantity are you able to stock in, you know, one cruise to provide?
On this run, when we're having 10 and 11-day cruises, we are doing, every time we are in Civitavecchia, we are doing our provision stores. So main stores coming from Miami, which is we are placing the order at least 2 months in advance, because we know the forecast how many guests we're going to have, and we always adding 10% on that, which can be booked last minute. Fresh produce coming the same time locally. The rest, everything coming from Miami in containers. No matter where ship sailing, everything coming from Miami. So fresh fruits, vegetables, dairy product we are receiving for countries like Holland or Germany or Italy. When we are doing cruises 7 days, then we are receiving every 7 days. And we can store, we can have food about 1.5 to 2 months. We don't want to overload it. We just order what we need for that to be fresh. And all the facilities we are having down there on deck 3 and 4, you know, the refrigerator, freezers, you know, they're all checked by the hour, you know, and connected with the engine room as well in regards to temperature.
So concerning propulsion, if I understand this correctly, then the pods actually contain electric motors. Is that correct?
It's a simple synchro electric motor. That's true.
Okay, so there's an electrical connection from the generators down into the pods to an electric motor.
There is, and passing through the cycle converter, of course.
Okay.
And then you have excitation, and then you start the synchro motor.
So is that a DC motor then that's in the pod?
Exactly, you are right.
Okay, and what voltage does that operate at?
10,000 voltage.
10,000 volts?
10,000 volts, and then it's passing through the cycle converter.
Okay, thank you.
moving a big ship like this looks really easy. I'm used to seeing ships being moved with 3 tugboats in and out, so I'm just amazed as far how easy you can get in and out of port with no help. My main question was, I see the boat was built in Germany. Main voyage was in Los Angeles, but if you look on the aft end of the ship, is registered in Nassau. Why are cruise ships always registered in Barbados and other destinations?
That's a good question, yeah. Well, first of all, this ship was built as Pride of Hawaii, so she went to Hawaii for the first 2 years, and at that time she was registered in the United States. She had more or less 100% American crew, and then we had 3 ships in Hawaii, so that was like too many. So we took this one and Norwegian Sky away from there, and by changing home port from US to Nassau, we were able to, well, not to get rid of the Americans, but to, let's say, to get a more, to get a different crew on a different pay scale, not under the American unions. And so more or less all the cruise ships today, they are under flags like we have.
This question is for the captain. I was wondering, what would you consider the most challenging part of your job?
First of all, I know Jerusa from way back. I don't know even why she asked things like this. I think the challenging part is actually working with people. If you're on a cargo ship and you have doesn't matter if you have 2,000, 3,000 or 4,000 containers, they keep quiet throughout the voyage. No issues at all. I mean, I don't say we have issues with you, but at least you speak up when you want something, which I think is a good thing. So yeah, the things are a bit more challenging on the passenger vessels than on cargo ships. Okay?
Do you have a favourite port to go into because of its technicality, or just that you like the port?
I like the ones where I can, after you guys go on a tour, I can walk out, I can sneak up in a favorite coffee shop somewhere, have a cigar where no one sees me, and then I come back on board again. That's the places I like. Yes, Third Izmir is definitely one of them.
When and why do you use a pilot?
Yeah, you think I wouldn't find my way without them? You know, we've been here with these ships since 2008, so we know the ports pretty well already. And due to the size of the ship, we must have a pilot when we go in and out from the ports. Most of the pilots, they know us from way back as well, so I think on this run there's not really any of the ports where the pilot actually do what the pilot, let's say in New York, would do. They come on board, they chat with us, they have a cup of coffee, they ask if we want to go port side or starboard side or long side, and that's about it. Of course, they speak the local language. That helps a lot. Not my Italian, my Turkey, not to talk about my language skills tomorrow in Egypt. They are absolutely non-existent. So there it's good to have a local guy who can speak with other ships. I bet some of you have been to Alexandria before? No? Well, if you're up early and see when we go in there, then you realize why it's good to have someone who speaks the language.
Can you explain to me how you manage the waste? You know, they have so many people, you know, the waste management.
we are treating our garbage here on the ship. We have a so-called scanship system, which means we are treating the black and gray water. By the end of this process, which is chemical, physical, and biological, I don't want to say, but you can almost drink that water. The water is so clean that you can almost drink. And for the garbage, of course, we have our incinerator, so we are burning the garbage. And we are recycling all the other things. Because this is our company policy. NCL is actually, let's say, the pioneer in this field regarding the environmental protection.
So you don't take a garbage on land, to the land, or you just process it inside the ship?
Most of the garbage we are processing on the ship.
Thank you.
Why are ships, boats, referred to as females, or you know, her, call the ship a her?
Well, if you ask any of the guys around here, I'm sure you know the ladies, they need a little bit of paint and fixing all the time to look good, and that's what we do around here. This one we only lift up every 5 years to paint the bottom, so...
It's a part of an old British tradition to call the ship she.
You used to be able to tour the kitchen, which was very interesting, but I understand that you can't because of what?
Yes, we still doing the we call the behind the scene tour, which is going to the galleys, to the provision area, to the laundry area, you know. And if you sign up on the reception, that is, you know. Yes, you can sign up on reception, and exactly the pack sheet you have with you, that's one you're going to receive, and you can see when you're going to the galley. But yeah, we are still doing.
The first night out, there was a fair amount of pitch motion. There didn't seem to be a lot of roll, but there was a fair amount of pitch, and I noticed the boat stabilized. But is it just stabilized for roll and not for pitch, or is it stabilized in both axes?
It's for both.
And is that about as much dampening as you're able to get? So even in those small seas we were in, you can't dampen the boat completely flat?
Yes.
It depends a lot also where you have the seas and the waves from. When we left, first we had it against us, and of course then you can feel it more. And then later it turned, so we had it more or less in the side. And with the wind and the waves in the side, we can easily do up to 20 knots and still have a very comfortable ride. But yes, they do help a lot. I thought you all forgot about the bad weather the first night already, so that's why I didn't want to bring it up.
I've heard of ships not porting because of country reasons, like maybe Egypt, and also for weather reasons. Even Olympia, they said they didn't disembark the day before. So how difficult is it to make that kind of decision, and what do you do to make that kind of decision?
Well, yeah, usually if it's political issues or something going on in the country, then we usually know about it 3, 4, maybe a week before, and then we can discuss with the head office to have a plan B, where to go, what to do instead. If there's bad weather coming up, well, usually we know about that as well. But sometimes when you get close to the port, if it's too bad, then you have to cancel. And usually at that state it will mean another day at sea. The reason to cancel is totally up to us, or let's say up to me. And I think if it goes so far that you have to answer yourself the question, can I make it or not, that's when you have to cancel it.
I noticed when we were going from our originating port south down on the western side of Italy, as you spoke a moment ago, I was looking at the monitor and the wind was 45 knots coming across from the west, and the waves were up to 12 feet. And I thought the whole ride was very comfortable, just a little, not much more than that. I just wonder when, at 90 degrees from the right or left, the wind and the waves, 80 knots, 25 feet away, I mean, where does it become a problem? You know, in open sea, where does it become a problem to operate?
Well, of course, you have to, it depends a lot where you get it in from, how big is the waves. The waves out in the Atlantic can be big, but they are very, very long. Here, if you have the same waves, they're very short, so it's much more challenging here. So this is all from case to case. You have to slow down, try to make it as comfortable for not only for the guests, for the crew as well, because they don't really like the rough weather either. So that's something we take from time to time. Sometimes you can maybe change the course, take a deviation to make it better, but depends much on where we are.
My question is about the balanced book. You know, you're not always get the full capacity. What's the minimum you have to make the balance?
Which balance, sir? I'm sorry.
You know, the balance point. You know, when you operate these things, how many minimum passenger you have to make the run?
But to be honest, we never had a situation that we have a minimum passengers. You know, there is a law, but we always have not less than 1,000. You know, so we have to go anyway. You know, so there is a lot of other things which company doing in order to fill up the ship. You know, they lower the rate or do some other things. You know, but ship has to sail anyway.
Yeah, but even with the loss situation.
Well, some cruises you make more money and some cruises you make less, but that depends much on the budgets, and this is all that comes from shore side, so there's not really much we can do about it here. We just try to make as much money out of you guys as possible, of course. But I guess you know that already.
I have a question about what you do to show appreciation for the crew.
You or me? Me? Oh, I thought you can tip them. You can tell them how good they are. You can write comment cards. And, well, we don't tip them, but we have similar systems. You tell director, you more into that.
But to show the appreciation to our crew, of course, we are doing a lot of things to make everybody comfortable when they are working. You know, as you know, they're working long hours and long contracts. You know, and of course they must have their own time, which they are enjoying themselves. We organize some parties for them. We have facilities where they can feel comfortable. We have the crew gym, crew bar. You know, we organize special dinner, special awards. We have a vacation hero. We call, you know, the little pins we are wearing here says vacation hero. So we are nominating every month people, and we award them, you know, with the different awards, you know. So there is a lot of things, there's a lot of promotions as well, which is coming from you when you see that someone doing excellent job, and we are collecting that cards, you know, and you see, we agree with that too, okay, this person deserves promotion, so we are doing a lot of promotions. If I'm talking about hotel department, that can edge is a little bit different, you know. So there is a lot of things we are doing for the crew. Yeah. We get the day off, like tomorrow we are all on tour, all the crew going on tour as well. So only just 3 of us stay here.
He forgot to say that we also feed them every day and free of charge, no need to pay for it. But of course, if they like, they can go out if there is space and eat in the same restaurants as we do as well.
So questions for the Chang, the chief engineer. How many people do you need to operate your engine plant?
Around 60 to 70 people, not less. Included the reefer engineers, the electricians, engineers, dealing only with the engines and propulsion.
So
around 60 to 70.
And that's all the time working, or when they're on in the plant? How many people do you have running in the plant?
On the watch all the time, I have 1 second engineer in a control room, 1 third engineer in the engine room, and 1 motorman together with him.
With the way the storm was right before the ship was supposed to sail, there were a lot of people that were involved in the transportation to the ship. Did any of them not make the ship, and if they were not able to, was there some kind of compensation for that?
Are you referring to the storm we had here or the one in US? Same. Sandy. Ooh, we don't even want to mention Sandy's name. Yeah, we had about 90 people who actually missed the ship because of Sandy. And we heard there were more than 7,000 flights cancelled. We also had quite a few issues with people from last cruise going home because they had booked flights, but they were cancelled. I think most of the guests who couldn't make it in Civitavecchia came on board in later. Yeah.
Not all of them. We get about 22 people came in Catacol and Piraeus. The rest was cancelled because of the flight.
Did they have to pay for the flight?
Honestly, I don't know procedure when it's going to happen, in regards to these things, that's...
Some things are covered by insurance, depends a little bit how do they book air and cruise with us or only the cruise, and so that's something they have to look into case by case. I do hope that all of them who couldn't make it get the money back.
A couple of questions about your the makeup of the personnel on the bridge. Do you have an executive officer, officer of the deck, and in that vein, when you maneuver the ship or throttle the ship, is it completely electronic, or do you ring down for revs like in the old days, or how does that work?
Now at sea we have a minimum of 3, let's not say 3 men on the bridge because we have a girl there as well. So 3 persons on the bridge. There's an officer in charge, either first officer or chief officer, then there's a second officer, and then there's a watchkeeper. So 3 people at sea all the time. In port, there's at least 1 person up all the time, and when we go in and out of the ports, it's usually staff captain, myself, maybe chief engineer additional on the bridge, and when we start to do the actual maneuvering, we do it all manually.
When you're moving from country to country, are you under any sort of agency control like commercial aircraft are, or can you just depart and take whatever route you'd like to another port?
We can pretty much take whatever route we want, as long as there's enough water. That helps. Also, most of the places we have to get out at least 12 miles from the shore to be able to pump out wastewater and or treated water. Some places, like when we go from Piraeus to Izmir, we are more or less inside the limit, so then we can do it. Many of the ports, they have a traffic control system, so when we leave, we discuss with them, and then when we approach the next place, we talk again. But the transit between, that's quite a lot up to us. Of course, some places there are separation zones you have to follow, so you can't really drive however you like. It's not always the shortest way from A to B. So.
I noticed I think I noticed the pools don't seem like they're used a whole lot, and I was wondering what goes into the choice between a saltwater pool versus a chlorine or bromine pool. And when I swam in there, it kind of seemed like the Great Salt Lake, very, very salty. So what choices are made on how the pool operates?
I don't think there is a salt water. Usually during the summertime we have a circulation all the time. Of course outside 12 miles with the salt water in a swimming pool. But actually we are using the fresh water in the swimming pools. But in the big one, I think that was the seawater. Yes, seawater during the summertime, as I said. But during the winter time, we are not using the seawater in the swimming pools. For example, the ships in Alaska, even during the summertime, we are using the fresh water.
So is this summer or winter? They seem like they were both salt water to me. And one of them really burned.
No, now it's a seawater.
So we are still in the summer.
Yes.
Okay. It's also easier with the seawater to keep it a constant circulation. Of course, at sea we can do it when we go into ports. Then we don't really want to take the water from the port of Alexandria and put in the pools, that's for sure. Because then no one would be swimming there.
Okay, well, first of all, I wanted to thank you for the great job all the crew does here. Do you have any experience, anybody jumping off the boat? And in that case, what is your procedure? Because it looks really nice today to go for a swim.
Anything wrong with the pools on deck 12?
We're more of ocean people.
It's the same water, you just said it, so. It does happen from time to time, yes, that someone jumps overboard. There was actually a case, I think 3 months ago. I was on vacation myself, but they managed to pick the person up in about 20 minutes. The thing is that if you see when someone goes overboard, that's when you have a good chance to do it. The first thing they do, of course, is to mark the position. They also have what we call the man overboard boys that they let go from the bridge. Yellow buoy with lights and smoke, so that goes in the water and then it's quite close to where the person went overboard. And then of course depends on the speed, have to slow down, turn around. Then we put down one of the small boats called the man overboard boats and send a couple of deck guys to pick the person up. The last, I know since I came here 3 years ago, we had two cases, and in both cases the people jumped themselves. So it's very, very seldom that someone actually falls in the water. So please use the pools, okay?
The question I have relates to the amount of power that is being produced. If you had to compare it, how much power do you actually produce in relation to any particular city or town? What size of power do you produce?
When we are alongside for the hotel, we are producing between 8 and 11 megawatts. Depend again if it's a summer or the winter time, of course because of the aircon. But it's between 8 and 11 megawatts. The propulsion is maximum 19.5 megawatts on each pod. That's how much we are producing. Actually, that's how much we need for the maximum speed and to keep the accommodation running well.
Sir, if you want some more explanations of the pools, I just see that our staff captain walked in who's in charge of them, so he's more than happy to tell you everything he knows about it.
Since the Concordia sank, do you find that passengers are more aware of safety issues nowadays?
I was kind of waiting for that question, sir. Because usually at every time we have this question and answer, someone brings up Concordia sooner or later. And especially in the beginning after it happened, yes, you know, we didn't even have seating space here. It was so crowded. So people had a lot of questions about Concordia, and until now, we don't really know anything more than you can read in the newspaper and internet. We haven't seen the final report. There's something went on in October. They will continue apparently in January. So what really happened to the captain and whoever was involved, that remains to see. But yes. Immediately after the Concordia, people were really safety conscious. Now I think we're pretty much back to where we were before. People tend to forget.
I noticed on the pictures of you guys that one of your senior officers was an American, USA, I think it said, and I just wondered, was he an U.S. Navy person or not?
I don't really know where we find him to be true, but he's actually sitting up there. That's our staff captain David from Hawaii. He's a little bit out here. He usually works in Pride of America in Hawaii, and that's the ship we talked about earlier with only Americans on board. So now we took him here for a year to see how we do the real business. And actually, in a couple of weeks, he's heading back to Hawaii, so he will leave us. But he wants to stay, I think. That's true. He's the one in charge of the deck department.
No, I have a question. If unfortunately anybody died in what's the procedure?
Why do we always get these sad questions at the end? It was exactly the same last week, you know, ma'am. First of all, we have 2 doctors and 3 nurses down on deck 4 in the medical center. And considering we have more than 2,000 guests on board, and especially this time of the year, the average age is quite much higher than in the summer. So yes, it happens now and then. But first of all,